What up? It is Golden Spaces, an Odyssey original podcast. I think y'all can tell the vibes are up. We Gucci over here. It is a great time right now. And why is that? Because as the title reads from our lovely producer Greg, Warriors forced game 6 with Lakers after 121-106 win. Yeah. Victory tonight. No dynasty is falling. It's not falling anyway, but all them thirsty ass people thinking it was done tonight, that's not. So get out of here. The Warriors still stand, and we head back to LA for a game 6. Woo! Go Dubs. Justin, how you feeling?
Feeling pretty good.
I expected them to come out. Give us a number.
I'm gonna say we had an 8. Okay. If they win game 6, we had a 9. If they win game 7, we had a 10.
There you go. It's simple math. Simple math.
Yeah. I mean, I expected them to come out with desperation. That's what they did. Draymond finally played with that fire that they needed him to play with. And it resulted in a convincing win. So
conspiracy theories because Izzo was in the building is why that happened. That's the street saying. The street saying. You know what I'm saying?
Somebody get Izzo in crypto.
Word. Yeah. He just needs to end all that buddy shit.
Was Wiggins college coach in there? Because he was hooping today.
He was, man. I love this version of Wiggs. That's my baby.
We need it.
No disrespect to Macau or I don't know how she pronounces it, but not like that. I'm just saying I love me some Wiggs. I've been supporting your man up and down. We fans over here. That's it.
Right.
I'm so happy. I mean, I felt like the Warriors were going to win tonight anyway. So that is what I felt, but I felt other things before too, and they didn't go that way. So you never know till it happens. But I mean, once the Warriors sort of took control at the end of the first half, they didn't relinquish it.
Right. I mean, that's what they got to do. They usually give up leads or, the Lakers go on runs based off the Warriors' mistakes, turning the ball over, taking bad shots, which pretty much are turnovers. And when they take care of the ball, take good shots, even sometimes like they one possession, they just took a shot clock violation because they couldn't get a shot up. Sometimes I'd rather have that than you throw up some bullshit and it just leads to a fast break. Like a long 3 is going to be a long rebound, which is pretty much like a turnover.
Right.
And yeah, just limit those. And the Lakers, I don't think they have enough skill to outplay them when it's a half court game for most of the game, or if it's mostly Warriors in transition and they're playing half court defense the whole time or playing half court.
Word. Offense. For sure. So I keep laughing because, Justin, as you know, before the series started, I made some comments about this series. And after every Lakers win, they keep coming back and quoting my commentary that was made on Brother from Another. Because I said that nice little cute team around LeBron. I talked about them not being ready or not having as much experience. And I also talked about the fact that they don't want to play as fast as the Warriors. They don't want to play at that pace. And then I said, like, the Warriors know Anthony Davis. They've played him before, and they've had his number in those matchups. I may have said they owned him. I don't know what I said. Some of that is just me talking shit, right? But it's also that because anytime you say that Draymond knows how to defend Anthony Davis, people always come back with Anthony Davis's past stats. Like, no one is saying that he shuts down Anthony Davis. You don't shut down great players. But what we're saying is that he makes it tough enough on Anthony Davis that he limits that impact and the dominance that Anthony Davis can impose on a game. And that's what makes him such a great defender on Anthony Davis. And so when we say he has his number, or Draymond knows, like you notice the games where Anthony Davis got loose, it was Draymond wasn't on him the whole game, or most of the game. Game 1, Draymond gets in foul trouble. Game 3, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, there are people who think that's not connected, but it's absolutely connected, and just like the whole pace thing. It's like people like, oh yeah, the Lakers, and they have one of the top 10, teams in transition. Yeah, when y'all are in transition, but you don't want to have to defend in transition. You don't want to have to play like you guys want to play fast in terms of transition games, but not having to defend and chase the Warriors around and all of that. And like they have one of the worst transition defenses in the league.
Thank you. I mean, it's common sense stuff. Speaking to Draymond with AD, like he possesses a unique amount of abilities that particularly can bother a player like AD. And I think over the course of this series, just being so many ticky-tack calls going against him, it kind of loosened up his aggressiveness on Anthony Davis. Like we saw in game 2, he was super aggressive on AD. AD couldn't really get his dribble going, none of that stuff. And then 3 and 4, we saw like, all right, fouls were getting called, all those things. So it made Draymond back off a little bit, so AD can kind of get into his rhythm a little bit better. But he was right back, kind of, in his jersey a little bit this game, and it made him more uncomfortable. And the Warriors just possess so many different ways that they can hurt you in transition that I just don't think, even if the Lakers had a great transition defense, they would be able to consistently stop them, because they have athletes and they have shooters, just coming straight down to you, and all of them like playing fast. So that's one of the keys that I put, like keys to victory for the Warriors. Just keep pushing that pace. Sometimes even on made Laker baskets, just push the pace.
Word. So, I was talking about all of that yesterday. And I tweeted it today, what I said, some of the stuff I just said, because nothing I said was really wrong, right? They're just like taking victory laps because the Lakers are up, The part I did get wrong is their role players. They're stepping up. They have like a different person every night, right? So, they've come to play. So, but our role players hadn't, our bench, hadn't stepped up. And that's really also been the other part of this that's been like hurting the Warriors, because they're not getting the bench and role player production that was anticipated. And they're not getting that. And these games are still tight. They're still close. So, if they were getting what their usual that they're supposed to be getting, I think this would have been a pretty short series. But nonetheless, we're here and we're fighting to come back from being down 1-3. So that's what it is, and so there's not going to be any logic applied to that, but they respond after every win. So I'm curious to see if they're going to be responding tonight, because they're always quiet once the Warriors win, but yeah, I wanted to address those comments. You did tweet out some keys to the game, and I saw that and I retweeted it. So let's take a look here. You have push the pace, which we've already covered. Pull 80 from the rim. Okay. And that's part of them going small and having GP2 on the court, and also putting the ball in Steph's hands, correct? Don't play JP, Dante, Klay together. Oh, listen, I was so happy when I first realized, like, before, what was the quarter? Was it the third quarter at the end where Steph went back to the locker room really quickly?
Yep.
And the Lakers went on that little run. But before that, I had looked and I was like, oh, Dante only had like 3 minutes. Let's just keep it like that. And like, as soon as I thought that, he was back in the game. And I just was like pulling out my hair watching
Right.
this. Like the indecisiveness from Poole, then the was that in it when Klay had the turnover trying to pass the Poole? I don't even know. Then Dante, like I'm just like, look at these guys. Just but Poole had a turnover. I don't remember or whatever, or didn't get a shot off. And like I just was like, I don't remember exactly what happened, but I know I tweeted like between Poole and Dante, they just like working harder to see who can like give us empty possessions. I mean, it was ridiculous.
It's crazy. It's really crazy. I mean, like, I think those three dudes are guys you put next to. You got to have at least Steph on the court,
Yes.
or yeah, like Steph, Dre, Wiggins, and Gary. Like those four should be on the court. Like two of those four at least should be on the court at all times. I feel like, because they, obviously Gary, what he does on the defensive end, and he just calms everybody down. He's kind of like Looney in the sense that he puts everybody in their correct position. So he takes pressure off guys, and that lowers the chance of them making a mistake. So obviously Steph and Dre, they just control everything. And then Wiggins is kind of like in that same realm too, where he just puts everybody in their right position. So two of those four should be on the court at all times. And then you can put one or maybe two of those three as far as JP,
Two at
Dante,
most. Like
and Klay.
honestly,
Two at the very most.
I don't think
Yeah.
Dante needs to play. I really don't. Like I mean, it's not that Poole has been like so much better than Dante. It's just that I think you have a chance of Poole giving you something. He gave a little something tonight, And so
Right.
I understand why you go with him, but my goodness, And Klay,
Yeah.
I mean, you got to keep going with Klay, but it's like I don't want them dudes dribbling too much. Anyway, I really don't. I don't even want Poole. Like I want Poole being set up for things. I do. Like if you create for
Thank
him
you.
and
All
let
three.
him, like you've been saying, set his feet. But if Steph or Dre creates for him and then he just has to then shoot it and not do anything else. And I'm not saying like he's a catch and shoot player, but like right now, that's what we can do. And like if you do that for him, he can usually like score you a bucket in that situation.
Yeah, him. I mean, that's the same thing that applies to Dante and Klay too. Obviously, Dante's not a scorer, but for Klay, I think they got to do a slightly better job of just getting him open. I think in the first two games of the series, they did a great job of that, and he hit the shots. And then 3 and 4, he's been kind of getting really, really locked up on those off-ball screens and stuff, so he can't get a clean look, which leads to either him not getting a shot or him forcing up a bad shot. I think he has like 21 shots combined in games 3 and 4, which is typically
But he
like
didn't
a
chuck
single game.
tonight. He didn't
Huh?
chuck tonight, which is good.
He didn't chuck. I wouldn't even say he chucked last game, except for at the end of the game. He only had 9 shots last game, but
Those
it
were really
makes him feel
crucial
like I
times
gotta
that
get
he
it up.
did it. Yes.
Right, that was just the worst time, but it just makes him feel like I gotta get it up when I touch it because I'm not shooting. So they got to do a better job of just getting him clean looks. But if you place JP with like Steph and Draymond, he's gonna get open somehow, like just from the attention those two guys grab when they run their pick and roll and stuff like that. And that's when JP can really thrive on that weak side, one-on-one defense with somebody who's probably like, I don't know, Reeves or something like that really shouldn't be able to stay in front of him, D'Lo or something like that. Then he can kind of get going to the basket and make something happen. But if you just have him as the lead guard next to two other guards who aren't really generating no type of rim pressure or nothing, it's just 3 dudes that just want to pull up jump shoot. And it's like, that's just not going to go well. You need somebody to go to the rim. You need somebody to set those guys up. So playing all 3 of them together when all 3 of them need to be set up is just not smart to me. And they're
No.
all like your 3 worst perimeter defenders at this point. So
Yeah.
it just really just makes no sense. And it's why Dennis Schroeder has been killing them this series. His plus minus has been crazy this series because he's playing against this lineup of 3 below average, perimeter defenders who just are chucking bad shots up and turning the ball over.
And it's remarkable too, because it's remarkable because the moment Steph came out and he put that in, like the Lakers made a little run, like immediately. It's like
instantaneously,
bro, like stop this. And it's crazy because before the series, we're like, yo, the Lakers guards are food. And they are, but it's like we're not taking advantage of that.
Right. Right. You're not putting the lineups out there for these dudes to eat. You're really not. So they gotta do a better job. I mean, they won this game by 15, so I doubt they go away from that lineup, but they really should. They really should. That lineup probably is the reason why they didn't win this game by more. Right. So yeah. I mean,
I mean,
and a
Kerr
guy
has
like
to be seeing
Looney,
the same thing we saw. He has to be seeing the same thing we saw in that, like, the
has
moment
to.
you put that lineup out there, it was ass. So
Right.
I hope you're
And you
also
see
kicking yourself like, damn, all I really needed to do was play GP2 over Moody and we would have got that win. Fucking Joker. Sorry, it just
I
makes
mean,
me so
maybe even
crazy.
GP2. I mean, GP2 over Clay, but that wasn't going to happen. But you see, even with these lineups combos, like Draymond, he's getting into his passing bag, he's getting into his finishing bag because he's playing with guys like Wiggins and Gary who have their own gravity next to the rim. Like guys don't want to
Right.
leave them because they can finish. But when you put Looney in these lineups with 3, 4 guys who don't have any rim pressure, it's tough for him to finish layups. It's tough for him to make the extra pass because everybody's covered and there's no guy creating that advantage. So they got to put Gary or Wiggins in there with them and take one of those guys out so they can just have better balance and just make the lineup make sense.
For sure. Your other keys to the game, one we already talked about, keep one of Gary and Wiggins on the court at all times. So staff high pick and roll frequency.
Yeah.
And there you're just saying what? I mean,
Like
when you're saying the frequency, like how much of it, how often?
right, not the location of the pick and roll. Yes, the location, but like I meant in that statement, like just up the frequency, keep it up high. Because we saw game 4, they let go of their rope in the second half, running what they said it was 6. It went from
6.
42 to 6.
Well,
That's ridiculous.
I think in the first half it was like 20, 21, I think is the number.
Okay.
I think that 40 something number is like over the course of the series, but like in the first half it was like 21 and then the second half it was only 6.
Yeah, that got to be up. It has to be up because they're just getting too good of looks out of it. Yeah, and it pulls 80 from the rim. And it's not really going to nerf Steph scoring, even if they trap him, whatever, because he's still going to find his way to get his points anyway, as we saw tonight.
What do you say to those people who say the reason why Klay isn't in rhythm or struggling is because they're running so many pick and roll and pick and rolls and the balls in Steph's hands, and so he's not, getting in rhythm?
I would say I disagree. I would say that he's just not getting clean looks. I mean, I would have to look at the film a little bit more to watch him specifically to see, how he's being guarded on these off-ball actions. But, we've seen these guys are getting open shots still. Klay's the only one that's not really getting open shots. So it's clearly by design of Lakers defense to let other guys go and leave Klay. And that's why Gary and Wiggins, it's partially why they're getting so many open layups.
Right.
Because you send it to the Steph and you gluing one to Klay, somebody gonna be open. And that's just is what it is. And that's okay. Klay got to be okay with that. Everybody got to
Right.
be okay with that because it's for the better of the team. When you get Draymond getting 20 points in a game, it's because Klay has a guy glued onto him. Like it
Right.
happens. It is what it is.
And that was one of my when I talked about like, there we use like headlines on Brother from Another when we're like to support our conversation. So there was this one headline that was like Steve Kerr deserves brunt of blame for like the Warriors going down 3-1. And Michael Holley is like, the brunt of the blame? Do you believe that, Natalie? And I said, well, I'll say this. I said, I think there's like 3 reasons, like main reasons. And I was just like, but to me, Kerr coaching is one of them. So I'd give him about a third of it, like, because I think the 3 reasons are equal for me.
Mm-hmm.
And, I said, but it obviously starts at the top with, ownership and Joe's interference in decisions and just, roster construction, just like those things. But I was just like, the other is egos. And I mean, really, you could say egos is an organizational thing from top to bottom. Kerr's ego about how he wants to play, Kerr's ego with his philosophies on young players, and so how he approaches developing them, you know, Lacob's ego and them thinking they could do 2 timelines and, like they have the next coming and all of that. So, but the players have egos too. And I was like, Klay's ego has been something since he's returned last year that we always have to like revisit him managing and not doing things. And, and to me, those 2 shots at the end of the last, game 4, to me were perfect examples of his ego making him like take those shots, because he still wants to show he's the man and he can like, do things. And, it's just, and so like, I know that was something we've talked about throughout the season, but it's like, you just always hoped that in a moment when it matters most, right? Like that he, and I don't want to just limit it to Klay because it's Poole's ego, which, and Kuminga's ego and like all of them, but I'm just saying I use Klay as the example, but those egos and not being able to like keep them in check is also to me a large portion reason why like, there's a lack of cohesiveness among the group like there normally is.
Yeah, it's been clear all season. You hit the nail on the head. Like it starts at the top. We see it. We've seen it with Joe. We see it with everybody pretty much except Steph, right? And Wiggs.
And that's what I said.
And
that was like
Moon.
one of my points because I was like, Steph's teammates, they write checks that they can't cash, and it's like Draymond, he can do it on the deep defensive end. He can, but you don't always show up like that when you should, right? But it's just like, you talk a lot, you know what I'm saying? But like, and you talk a lot because you're Draymond, but part of why you can talk like that is because your teammate is Steph Curry.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And it's like, same thing, Klay, it's like, yes, Klay, you are your own, like game 6 Klay, all of that. We know who you are, killer. And at the same time, you're doing this on the back of Steph Curry. So it's just like, when y'all don't show up in games or you do stupid shit like that, when he's out there exhausting himself, you know what I'm saying? That's a frustrating thing.
It definitely is. And we in the same breath we praise these guys for calling their shots and hitting it, like Klay last year saying, "Oh, it feels like our first finals when they was down 2-1 and then they ended up winning 3 straight." And Draymond telling CJ the Celtics are going to be ringless and they ended up being like, that's all cool, but we know why you guys are talking like that, right? Like you just said, we praise you for for having the cojones to say stuff like that, but we also got to bring it back to reality and say like, all right, let's pipe it down a little bit because we know really where this pride and confidence is coming from, outside of what you can do for yourself, but you just know you got a guy on your team that just gonna come through for you, or at least you speaking it into existence, right?
And he almost always does, rarely lets you down, and he doesn't talk like that, not in the same way. And I don't mind, like if he did, I'd be okay with it too, but he doesn't, because that's just not him, but I listened to Steph's words carefully. And at the end, when he was in his presser the other day, the post game after they lost and went down 3-1, he's just like, still got a long road. I forget the word he used, but basically saying got a long way to go, I believe is what he said,
Yeah.
So,
and we're going to extend this thing. Yeah.
Yeah. And Ramona Shelburne did some reporting and said like there was anger. That's what she sensed from the locker room, but like anger that they lost the game. This wasn't like a fractured locker room or down like, man,
Right.
we can't beat these guys. I know for a fact they don't think that. So, it's so that was good to know and hear it like reaffirmed. But it's you kind of was hoping that the Kings were their wake-up call.
Mm-hmm.
So if they pull this off, please let this be the motherfucking wake-up call, because my goodness.
Good.
I mean, how much do y'all want to play with your food? How much?
I mean, I made the joke on Twitter earlier today of like the meme where it says like "Give me stronger battles to God," and God's like, "What are you talking about?" Right? Like that's really what it feels like with this team. Sometimes it's like so many preventable mistakes that lead to them being in these holes that they got to dig themselves out of, and it's almost like they're bored. Like it's like we know worst case scenario, like if they play the games better, they split games 1 and games 4 instead of losing both of the close games, right? Because we've had 3 blowouts otherwise. And then you're in this position at this point where you're up 3-2 instead of down 3-2. Um, or in a perfect universe, they win both of those games and they just finished the series tonight. But now you're in a position where you got to win 2 more games in a row, one of them on the road, and it's totally avoidable. So, like you said, hopefully, if they can get through this, this will be their final wake up call. But knowing them all season, can't put it past them. Can't put it past them if it's not.
One game at a time.
One game at a time.
Your final key to the game, and I would like you to elaborate on this one, was pressure AD and LeBron's handle in isolation. What do you mean by that?
I mean, stop giving them a foot and a half of space between you and them when they catch the ball, right? Because I think we're giving LeBron a little bit too much respect with his burst off the dribble at this point in his career, especially with Wiggins on him, who's at this point quicker than him. So, and they might be encouraging LeBron to shoot jumpers because his jump shot hasn't been, falling really. But I do think in this series in particular, since Wiggins has that quick jump and, he can really pressure LeBron with his athleticism, not letting LeBron get that jumper in rhythm is the key. Forcing him to dribble, take time off the clock, stuff like that, exhaust his body, going to the rim and trying to battle. I think that would pay more dividends. And then with Anthony Davis, he doesn't have a guard's handle. Like he has a pretty good handle for a big, but he doesn't have like an NBA guard's handle like that. So you can, like, especially Draymond, you can get up on his handle a little bit and force him into uncomfortable situations. And I think too often this series, especially game 3 and game 4, they allowed AD to get a few rhythm dribbles before he shot a little pull up mid range or a step back or something like that. And those are all cash if he's comfortable. But if he's uncomfortable, like, man, I can't really get to my spots. My handle is a little bit shaky right now. I got to turn my back instead of facing up. That's when he starts to miss those little push shots. That's when he starts to kind of flail and try to flop for the fouls and stuff like that. So Draymond has to do that. He obviously has to do it without fouling because, 2-3 fouls and he's out the game. And now AD's really cooking. But I think they really got to do that to bother those two guys. And if they do that, I don't think they have enough offense outside of those two to match the Warriors. So stop letting them get comfortable is the main thing.
Y'all, Justin's basketball mind is just so brilliant. I love listening to him talk. We got to get him a job in one of these on these teams and player development, right? Like on the track to coaching. Let's start making sure we are tweeting out and pushing Justin's breakdowns and analysis. I call him the Tim Legler of NBA Twitter for a reason. I mean, just phenomenal stuff. I'm always learning from you, and I appreciate that. Appreciate you.
I appreciate you.
All right. So 3-2, much better than 3-1.
Right.
A streak. Let's talk about streaks, okay? So the streak of Steph and co. never losing a series in less than 6 games stays alive.
Yes.
But we're not planning on losing, but we're just saying it's, they didn't lose tonight. So if they do not make it past game 6, that will continue. Okay. Now, there's some other streaks at play. Let's talk about the one that happens next, right? And I think before we even get to the one about LeBron in game 7s, because I think there's another one about LeBron, like when he's up 3-1 in the series, but I don't remember exactly.
It's when he has a 2-game lead in the series. He's never lost.
But does he always win the next game?
No, I don't think. I'm not really sure. But I think it was like if he's ever been up 2-0 or 3-1, he's never lost the series. Like I don't know about like the next game, you know what I'm saying? But
okay.
Yeah.
So the Warriors, they have a streak too, y'all. And that is that they have in every series always won at least one home game. Bro. And if they were going to not keep that streak this series, that means they would have just had to have won every home game and the Lakers win all their home games. But that didn't happen. So now they are in a situation where they have to get one on the road. And to this point, they have always won on the road. So this would be a good time for them to continue.
For that streak to continue.
That streak.
Yeah. And another streak for the Warriors, obviously, is they never lost in the Western Conference playoffs with Steve Kerr as the coach.
Okay.
So.
Now, if the and we don't want to get too ahead of ourselves, but we'll just say if the Warriors push it to game 7, LeBron has never lost a game 7.
Mm-hmm.
So those are the multiple streaks at play.
And I want to say he's played in quite a few.
Yes. Many more than the Warriors have. This is have they even, I don't think this is eerily similar to 2016 in that they played 2 game 7s, then 2 with OKC and then in the finals. But outside of that year, I mean, the Warriors just haven't they had Houston like 1 year.
Yeah, the Clippers.
Yeah, but that's before, that's like pre the Kerr, like once they started winning. So, I mean, but I did count that in terms of like them playing game 7s when I was looking at the Kings series. But I mean, this is a lot for them. They might, they had so many years where they don't even get like to a game 6, much more a game 7, so it's just not territory that they're in. I mean, I think at this point now they do have I think they're 2-2 in game 7s, right?
3-2.
3-2.
They beat OKC, they beat Houston, they beat Sacramento, lost to Cleveland, lost to the Clippers.
Okay. So they were 2-2 before, and okay. So so let's hope they can make it 4-2.
Right.
Let's hope that they can make it 4-2. So I mean, guys, listen, this is going to be fascinating stuff. But let's just focus on game 6. So let's see. We have some news on Anthony Davis, which was another big storyline of this game. He inadvertently got elbowed by Kevon Looney and seemed to be really out of it after that. So he did not return to the game. Apparently had to be put in a wheelchair. But according to Chris Haynes's reporting, the early diagnosis indicates Anthony Davis appears to have avoided a concussion and is doing much better now. We are glad to hear that over here because if the Warriors do come back and win this all, we don't want any excuses. We don't want to hear any of them. Unlike the Cavaliers and LeBron in 2016, who lobbied the league to get Draymond suspended, not for 1, but 2 games, even though they only got 1. So that's weak shit, in my opinion, but we don't need to relitigate 2016. So looks like Anthony Davis will be okay, and that is good news. So we don't need to hear Lakers fans whining and crying and everyone talking about the Warriors' luck and, totally ignoring right now that they have 2 superstars on their team, whereas like the Warriors have 1, but
Right.
Steph is the only person never allowed to have help, by the way. You notice that?
Oh, of course. I've been noticed that. He's not allowed to have help, but the help he does have is like the greatest of anybody ever. But when you ask people individually about those players, they all suck and they're not really that good. They wouldn't be that good on any other team. It's just consistent loophole, hopping through, moving the goalposts, all that jazz.
Yeah, for sure. Well, like I said, I'm glad that it seems like AD is going to be okay, because I was not even trying to like think about that and what that could mean. So that's good news to hear. So in terms of tonight, Wiggs had a great game. We talked about that. Draymond was great tonight. Steph, always great, even though his 3 wasn't falling. Right? So I would say those were the best 3 players on the court tonight.
Yeah.
Oh, Gary Payton II. Even though he didn't have like 15 points like last game, he's just still incredibly, incredibly impactful.
Yeah, 13. Close.
Yeah. And was it 15 last game, or did I lowball him?
I think it was 15, yeah.
Okay. But I mean, he's just everything we knew he could be. And I will say this, because I was not someone who was like totally devastated by Gary Payton II leaving. I wanted to keep him, but I was like, okay, one of the things too was just also his injury luck, like he can't always stay healthy. And so I was worried about that. But I thought that like while they did different things, I thought that Dante was a sufficient replacement. And the regular season was a little misleading, because it had us believing that while they are not the same player and they do different things, that Dante was helping. And we were all looking forward to Dante and GP2 sharing the court and being disruptive. And what we have come to learn is that Dante is not a 16-game player. He is not a 16. And while I love White Dante and all that, because he did a lot to help us in the regular season, I'm just like, thank God they went back and got GP2, because man, listen, I mean, how huge, what will we do without GP2? So
man,
don't even want to imagine it.
Don't want to imagine it. I mean, I think Dante is capable of playing so much better. It's just he has to be put next to guys that help cover his weaknesses up. And for this playoff run, he just hasn't been put in those lineups. So he's actually been put in lineups that make his weaknesses amplify. So, yeah, but thankful for GP2. All that he does defensively, he's pretty much taken D'Lo out of the game the last 2 games when he's been on him. So that's been huge. And he just, the little big man out there, picking and rolling to the rim, finishing over LeBron, finishing over all these people at 6'2" is really crazy. It's crazy the stuff that he's able to do.
Word. And garbage time, Kuminga looked good. I get it. It was against the Lakers role players, but he looked good.
Yeah. Hit 2 jumpers. Got an assist out there. It's disappointing that he hasn't been given a shot in this series, because I think that he could be out there doing some of the things that Gary could do. And those things obviously and drawing fouls. Exactly. Like you look at Gary's stat line, he shot 5 free throws. You could imagine that
he was making them too. I was so happy tonight.
Right?
Ray hit his 2. We was hitting our free throws.
unlike one of those other games, they didn't hit their free throws. But yeah,
How did we
14 for
end
15.
tonight in terms of our free throws versus the Lakers in terms of attempts?
Equal. And you can bet your bottom dollar that they crying about it on Twitter right now. Already in my mentions.
Oh, but they was whining about us, talking about, and they complain, talking about the Warriors are complaining and it's soft. Okay. Let's see how they handle this night off into tomorrow. I bet not hear shit from them about free throws since it's so soft. And it's 15. Bullshit because after game 2, they cried about free throws. That's why it's comical. It's comical.
They shot more free throws in game 2 by like 1 or 2 free throws. It's equal this game. The Warriors got 18 fouls called on them. The Lakers got 17. So 1 less foul called on them, and they're crying about calls, saying how they should be getting more calls because they play so much more physical and they're downhill and going to the rim. They really not in this series, though. That's the whole thing. AD is shooting a lot of little push shots. LeBron shooting little midi floaters in there. D'Lo shooting a lot of we played the same way we always. Darvin Ham quote: "We play the same way we always play. I don't know what to foul anymore." After he just said, "We control before the game. We don't do the officiating." And an undisclosed Lakers player who was clearly LeBron telling people stop bitching and whining. Now we bitching and whining. Like,
that's funny. For a dude that lobbied the league for a Draymond suspension. I never want to hear shit. To this day, I cannot understand how Dre is cool with this man. Like, bro, he lobbied to get you fucking suspended for 2 games.
After he stepped
like
over you.
1 wasn't even enough. He wanted your ass out of there for 2.
It's so funny, the hypocritical nature of these guys. After they cried that Boston game in the regular season when LeBron didn't get that foul call, and from that point on, they've blown everybody else out of the water in free throw differential. Now it's no bitching and whining. When he threw a fucking temper tantrum on the court like a 4-year-old in the middle of a game, no tech, nothing for that. Like, this shit is really crazy.
Listen, I already knew what it would be, but I guess it depends on who's actually reffing that next game. I mean, they'll be at home, so the free throw advantage will probably go to them, but I just am not expecting any more of these crazy ass disparities for the series.
I hope not. I really would hope not. They got away with a few flops today, like they always do. But it wasn't outrageous, which is a good thing. And I mean, the whole Kerr comments were clearly because they got 2 flops awarded to them in a close game in the 4th quarter, with Schroeder flopping and Lonnie Walker flopping on those moving screen calls. Like, that's just bullshit. You can't call that at that point in the game. That's the whole thing. Like, throughout the course of the game, whatever.
Lonnie Walker again tonight. Like, that boy ain't saving y'all tonight. It ain't happening. It's the same shit. Like, that's like a Jermichael Green move, bro. You only getting that one game. That ain't.
Literally, he came in there trying to shoot some of that same bullshit that he was hitting. That shit was not going down, and it's not going to for the rest of the series. So hopefully they keep playing him, because he's a cone on defense. He's not really doing shit for them on defense.
Vanderbilt been played off the floor too.
We knew that was going to happen. Can't score. Also not good enough defensively to justify him not being able to play, even if he can't score. So that's advantage Warriors right there. So,
remember in the game 1 how they were acting like he was the Curry stopper? Every series, why do we do this? There's always some guy they think is the Curry stopper. It's never the case.
Because they waiting for it to happen. What's Steph say last series? I hope we never find out. We never gonna find out because he don't exist.
Yeah, exactly.
The Curry stopper does not exist. It's Steve Kerr. No, I'm just kidding.
All right, listen. Our Dubs are back in this series, and we knew that they weren't going out without a fight. We knew that they wasn't just folding. You know, I saw some tweets like, I don't know if them other guys. I believe in Steph, but I don't know if them other guys gonna show up. Like, you serious right now? You don't think Draymond Green's gonna show up? You don't think Klay and all of his chucking, or not chucking, but you know what I mean, all of his crazy shit, you don't think these dudes are gonna show up? Bro, come on. Battle tested. Wiggins one of them ones.
He is.
He may have an off night, but he one of them ones.
He one of the ones, and he's shown that last year. Like
Yeah.
when the back's against the wall, he gonna go out there and leave it out there on the court. Like make or miss league, whatever. But like the effort's gonna be there. The fire is gonna be there. Like he got that fire in him. So not worried about him.
Hella elimination games around the league. 2 tonight. The Knicks forced the game 6, but I think that's ending in Miami. Because they let the Heat come back and get in that game.
Yeah.
So I think that's ending in Miami. 2 elimination games tomorrow night. I think the Suns are gonna force a game 7. I just think that series is like the teams are gonna win at home.
Yeah.
I'd be shocked if anything otherwise. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you also got Celtics in a shocking turn of events are down 3-2 and going to Philly. Now we know they can win in Philly because they've already done it this series. And we know last year they went into the Bucks home
in the game 7.
Won. And didn't they do it too to the Heat? I felt like they went into Miami and won an important game too.
Yeah, they did because Miami beat them in Boston.
Yeah, so I mean, we know that they have what it takes to go in and do it, but Embiid was looking very MVP-like in the last game. And if you get him looking MVP-like and vintage Harden on the same night, could be problems. Yeah, because, you know, the thing about it is, like, I mean, there hasn't been a Tatum game, and he is known to come up big in, like, these kinds of moments. But even if you get Tatum at his best and Brown at his best, is that duo better than vintage Harden and MVP Embiid?
No. So you would just hope that the other guys, you know, step up and play better. Yeah.
Now you may not get vintage Harden, but I'm just saying if you do.
Right.
We don't know. Right. But it's not a game 7. So you might get him in game 6.
True. At home. You know, true at home. The Celtics, I mean, I think the Celtics pull it out 6 and 7, to be honest. I think they're going to get hot from 3, and Philly just won't be able to match it. But we will see. Because like you said,
interesting stat about them. Like when they shoot 40% from 3, they're basically unbeatable. But when they don't, it's ugly.
They're terrible. Yeah.
But what I don't understand is why are they shooting so many threes? Like what? Like do they see the guys on their team and their physical capabilities? Like why are they relying on that to be their offense? They're not natural 3-point shooters.
Nah, but I think they're also not natural like finishers at the rim. None of them can dribble. Really, like JT probably got the best handle in that team, and he got a little shaky handle, and he's tall as hell. So it's just direct line drive. If I don't have anything, I'm gonna kick it out. Everybody on the team except Rob Will can shoot a 3, so we might as well just get him up.
Fascinating. And then the last thing I just want to touch on, Justin, All NBA came out today. And Luka Doncic, I don't know if I said it right, was fucking first team, my nigga. And he ain't even make the play-in, much more the playoffs.
That's insane to me. He only played 10 more games than Steph. And he played 10 more games and stuff and only won 3 more games. Like as far as the games that he played, Steph had a higher win percentage of the games that he played
Yeah,
and made the playoffs.
I think penalizing a guy for games played makes sense if like the other team, like if there's not something to really penalize Luka for, and he should be penalized
Right.
for. And also just like the way he kind of fell off in the second half of the season. Like it wasn't, which was so crazy because they didn't do that they penalized Steph last year for that, right?
Right.
Like Luka got hot second half of the season and they gave him the benefit of being first team, and so it's whatever. I'm sorry, he should not have been nobody's first team. And then Ja Morant not making it is interesting because he was clearly penalized for his off-court activity. He had an all NBA season and he played the number of games necessary.
Yeah, and his team was a second seed.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I mean,
that costs him money. It costs him
right.
money.
Happens. Make bad decisions.
But is that fair? Should his off-court stuff be impacting all NBA awards?
No, but seeing that, it can sway the minds of people who vote and stuff like that. Like, I don't necessarily feel bad about it. I don't think I think it's a little bit unfair, but at the same time, it's like, bro, just don't put yourself in that position. And you won't get that type of stuff on you.
All NBA is like one of them things, not as extreme as MVP, but Donovan Mitchell being second team, like I understand the season he had, but then when you see the postseason he had, you're like,
Yeah.
Whereas like De'Aaron Fox, yeah, he should probably be second team.
Like
but I'm glad he made it. I'm glad he made it though.
Right. A 9 seed and an 11 seed being both first team guards.
It's crazy. Yeah. I'm sorry. Like, I understand that people liked SGA, but like, no.
Right. You give those people their just due. Like your stats are crazy. Individually, you're a great player, but your team just didn't win quite enough. Here's your third team spot.
Exactly.
If at best, here's your second team spot. But Fox as a third seed, Ja as a second seed, Steph as a 6 seed, clear of the play-in. Donovan Mitchell, what were they? Third in the East? Fourth. They were fourth.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you got to give those guys a bump up, in my opinion. Because all these dudes got crazy numbers. All these dudes are amazing individual players. So you're splitting hairs trying to look at stat and box scores and averages and stuff like that. You got to look at winning and impact and all that other stuff and really make an informed decision. And they just didn't. They went with the narratives and the media and all that type of stuff.
Yeah, I'm also not sure if LeBron should have made it this year, but I know they would never not make it, give it to him. And Dame Lillard, too. It's like, because, I mean, should a guy like Brunson have been on there? Like.
Yeah, low key. I mean, Dame had a crazy season, but bro, what were they like? They were like 13th seed or something.
4 games below 500, son. I don't want to hear about him on no all NBA team. I don't give a fuck what kind of season he had.
Facts. So, I mean, it's getting kind of bad where I want to say social media is influencing this, where they're creating this whole stigma around quote unquote ring culture and a stigma around like rewarding winning just for the sake of winning.
Only the losers say that. It's only the people of teams that don't win. I know it is. It's coming a real thing.
It's getting super popular. And it's just getting weird. It's like, okay, this guy played amazing and his team won. This guy played amazing and his team lost, but I like his stat line a little bit better. So I'm going to go with that guy. And I feel like it shouldn't be automatic for the guy who won because that's just not fair. His team was better and all this shit. Like, that shit is so whack. Like, The whole
Very
point of the
accurate.
game is to win.
Anyway, Chuck was laughing the other night when Shaq said, the Warriors not out of this, you know? And he's just like, they probably sitting there like, yeah, we want to come back and do like our 3-1 thing. You know, we don't know what's going to happen, but most people I talk to were not writing off the Warriors. And it's not just because it's the champs, but I think people get it. Like, this 3-1 is not the same as like the Knicks and Heat 3-1, right? Like, even though you and I, Justin, don't actually think the teams are that close, people do think the teams are that close. But that's because, and that's the point why most people think, you know, the Warriors could get back in it, just because the teams are, in their opinion, are not that close. But you and me are like, they're not even really that close. So
yeah,
the Warriors definitely have a chance. So we'll see. Friday night will be a big night.
huge.
Friday night will be a big night. Oh. What are we manifesting for Friday night? What are we manifesting?
We are
Let's close with our
manifesting.
manifestations.
We're manifesting a win first and foremost. We're manifesting Steph and Klay finding their 3-point shot and having that carry not only in Game 6 but Game 7 and for the rest of the playoffs after that. Because that's a huge difference maker. Being able to rely on that, not necessarily rely, but being able to fall back on just some ridiculous shot making. That's always a good luxury to have. So hopefully they get that back.
We need a repeat of what happened in OKC Game 6, except that Steph is healthy and can move.
Except
Steph still had a big game.
He still had a big game, 30-point triple double or something like that. Right. And hopefully it's not one of those things where they need all those, because they needed every single one of those threes. They were down by like double digits for a good portion of that game. Hopefully it's not like that. Hopefully it's more like, yeah, we caught fire and we blowing y'all out the water. But yeah, we need that.
We are manifesting reasonable foul calls, like nothing OD.
Please.
We are manifesting no foul trouble for any key guys on both teams. Let's just see these guys play.
Right. That's what we want. Real hoops. Equal calls on both sides, whatever the case may be. And just let the better team win. Fuck all this flopping shit. Like, all this keys to the game for the Lakers are free throws. You see shit like that? Like, that's not even, that shit that's out of your hands. How is that a key to the game for the Lakers if it's out of their hands? I just don't understand.
Is that what people are saying?
People were saying that after they lost Game 2. They were just like, yeah, just get to the free throw line. Like, it's like, what? Hoop. Play basketball. Like,
right.
Your game plan should be to get to the rim and score. Get open threes, stuff like that. Not get to the free throw line.
Word.
I don't know. That shit is just so like, these dudes are like all policemen. Like, I just don't get it. Like, their whole fan base is just very, very cop-like.
I'm going to just keep doing this because I just want it to happen for him, but I'm manifesting a Jordan Poole game.
Right. They kind of wasted this Jordan Poole game in Game 1.
Yeah.
6 threes, 21 points, but
I'm just saying, I think regardless, if they're going to get it done in 6 and 7, we need a game from him at some point. Or a game from him at some point would be really, really helpful.
Especially if Klay's struggling. And just period going forward, they need him to get right if they want to win another championship.
Yeah. Yeah. I still believe in you, Jordan. We still believe in you.
Yeah. I don't even think he was that bad this game. He took a few questionable shots, but yeah, I think for the most part he was okay.
Well, y'all, thank you so much for tuning in with us. We hope that you are feeling the vibes like we are. And in light of that, we hope that you will share and tell a friend about us, a family member, a loved one, whoever it may be. Also, follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Golden Spaces Pod. Make sure you're downloading, sharing, like I already said. Also, leave a review, a positive one, and also leave a 5-star rating. Both are appreciated. We thank you so much for listening. Cannot do this without you. Appreciate the support, the commentary, the feedback. Honestly, y'all are the best. Thank you for sticking with us. Let's go, Dubs. Let's get it done for game 6. Until next time, guys, take care.